What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and if you're looking for a 3-row SUV that can haul around all of your kids, but those gas prices at the pump are absolutely killing you, look no further than this vehicle right here, the 2022 Kia Sorento Hybrid. I drove this all-new Sorento last year with its gas-powered turbocharged motor and absolutely loved it. And I have finally gotten my hands on the new, more frugal hybrid version. So we're going to take a deep dive, walk around, look at the Kia Sorento Hybrid, and then we're going to drive it. So let's start with the styling, which is great in my opinion. I loved this new Sorento when it came out, and I still love it as a hybrid. We've got Kia's Tiger Nose grille here, the iteration of it. They look different depending on the model, but I think it looks great here, how it kind of pinches in the middle, gets a little wider, and then goes into these very angular, very stylized headlights that look great. We've got the new Kia emblem, which I think looks much better than the outgoing black circle. This red is a rather interesting choice for this vehicle. I don't think I'm gonna see too many red ones like this out on the road, but it is a bold choice if you are willing to go for it. Even for me, I think it's a little bit much for a vehicle like this. Now, we've got the EX front wheel drive. So we've got these kind of ugly, kind of small 17-inch wheels wrapped in these Eco Nexus tires. They are not very grippy, they are low rolling resistance, and that's going to help us with fuel economy, but it doesn't look that great. If you want to get 19-inch wheels on this car, you're gonna have to spend $2,300, and that gets you all-wheel drive and the larger 19-inch wheels. That's gonna hurt your fuel economy because you're obviously getting bigger wheels and you're getting all-wheel drive, but it should up the curb appeal a little bit compared to what we have here. So if you're not a big fan of those wheels, that's the only way you're gonna be getting bigger ones. Now, here at the back, I kind of get some Mustang vibes. Hear me out, like Mustang Mach-E at least, with kind of these taillights, how they're kind of vertical like that. Obviously the Mustang has 3, the Sorento only has 2. And like I said, the red, kind of a lot when mixed with the headlights. I actually much preferred the blue and green that Kia sent me when I reviewed the gas-powered car. Now, again, we have the new badge here. We've got Sorento spelled out on the bottom there, on the bottom of the tailgate, and we have our Eco Hybrid badge on this side, which we wouldn't have on our gas-powered model, but we do not have any model designations letting us know which trim we have. We have the EX, which is actually the highest version of the Sorento that you can get as a hybrid. Now, right below the E is where you're going to find your trunk release. Don't go looking for it up here. And we're gonna see that we have a pretty sizable trunk. I have no problems with the amount of trunk space here as I go wide angle here to show you. You could fit plenty of stuff here with the third row down, but if you need more than that, it's very easy to put down those second row seats. You can do it from the second row, or you also have these electronic buttons that can drop it. Just click those and they will both drop down automatically. Now we have a really nice amount of space. So this is a really nicely sized vehicle. It's a mid-size, but it's on the smaller end of the mid-size. So the mid-size class is kind of broken into 2 groups. You've got 2 rows, like the Murano, the Blazer, the Santa Fe, which this is closely related to. And then on the bigger side, you have things like the Palisade, the Telluride, which sits above this, the Pilot, the Atlas, things like that. So that's kind of how you can divvy it up. But the Sorento is kind of a tweener. It's a 3-row, but it's a little bit closer in size to those 2-row vehicles that I told you about. So we've got manual 3rd-row seats. So you just pull these little straps to raise up the 3rd row here. I'll do it again on this side. They're a little heavy, but not too hard to do with one hand, at least on the way up. And now you'll see that with the 3rd row up, we don't have quite as much room. That is one of the drawbacks of this being a tweener vehicle like I mentioned. It's a little bit on the small side of the midsize, so you do get that third row, but you're not going to have that much room behind it. If you want more room behind the third row, because you're going to be using them very frequently, you're going to need to step up to the Telluride, and unfortunately, that does not come as a hybrid. You can also get the Kia Carnival minivan, which I think is a wonderful choice as well. So now let's check out the second row, where we've got captain's chairs here. This might require a two-hand here because they kind of lock into place here. So the seats lock in when you lower them like that, so you actually have to use the lever to raise it up. So captain's chairs, you can get the Sorento with a bench seat here, so it would be a full 7-seater. This is only a 6-seater, but not on the hybrid. All hybrids, both the S and EX, are going to come with the captain's chairs, limiting you to only 6 seats. It's not necessarily a bad thing. You've got plenty of legroom. These are adjustable as well, so I can slide this forward if I have a car seat. Doesn't need to be that far away, or I can slide it all the way back. I can also recline using that same handle that I used to lift up the seats, which is quite nice. We've got rear air back here, so your kids won't get too hot. You also have a USB port down there, as well as a 12-volt, and then you have USBs in both of these seat backs, which is quite nice as well. Now, you do get armrests on here, which is quite nice. You also get this little elastic net, which is quite nice for a little bit of storage. You can maybe put your cell phone right there. The cup holders are on the doors, and you could squeeze in between these two seats to get into the third row, but Kia made it very easy to get in. Otherwise, you have this little button. It's electronic. You push it, and it's going to slide the whole seat forward. See how easy that is? It slid so far forward. Now you have a really good opening, and you have a duplicate version of that button here on the back of the seat, making it easy to get in and out of the third row, which I am going to attempt to do. All right, here we go. All right, here I go. All right, so I'm in. It's a little bit low to the ground. I'm going to slide that seat. Now, this is not in its all the way back position, but as you can see, I have a little bit of leg room remaining. I've got a little bit of storage here, a cup holder. I've got USB on this side and a USB on this side, but we don't have any special air vents back here, so it might get a little bit warm. So this is not a huge third row. If you want something bigger, you're going to have to, again, step up for that Telluride. So now I can just push this button. Very easy to get in and out, so I do like that functionality. Nissan has something similar, as does Honda, so I like that Kia was able to make it very easy to get in and out of that third row. All right, time to check out the area where you're going to be spending most of your time, which is here in the front row. Let's go ahead and shut the door and start it up with the push button start. You get Kia's little welcome chime, which you can shut off if you so choose. So there are only 2 trims that you can get on this hybrid model. You can get the base S trim, or you can upgrade to this EX model. We've got this leatherette seating here. I believe the S model also has leatherette seating, so you're getting that kind of either way. You can't actually step up above EX on the hybrid model. To step up to the SX or the SX Prestige, you have to get a completely different drivetrain. You have to get a plug-in hybrid, which I will talk about just a little bit later. So that gets you like Napa leather, heated and ventilated seats, a lot of things that we're not going to see here. Now, for 2022, all Sorento models above the S, meaning every hybrid is going to get this, gets the new 10.25-inch screen. You used to be able to get an 8-inch screen here on the Sorento hybrid. Now this is great because this is a nice screen, and you know, you can do split screen, so I can go ahead and pull up my map here. I can have my clock here, and then I can kind of switch out what the sides do. I really like that, but quite annoyingly, this Kia larger screen does not have wireless Android Auto or CarPlay. You're going to have to plug in for that. Only the smaller 8-inch screen does that, which is a little bit annoying. But other than that, this is a really good system, and I don't have any problems with it. We're going to have some very standard gauges here. You're going to have your speedometer there on the right. You're going to have your Eco Charge power gauge that you see in a lot of hybrids these days. there on the left, and in the middle you're going to have your little screen, so you can have your driving style. You can see I've been doing quite well, 70% economical. Your energy flow, so you can see if your energy is coming from the engine or the battery, and you can have your fuel economy, which, as you can see, I've been doing quite good on my fuel economy, and you can change that to a number of other screens as well. We've got this nice leather steering wheel. I think it feels very high quality, especially for a vehicle at this price range, and we have a ton of adaptive driving assists, ADAS systems. We have adaptive cruise control, amazing lane keep assist, and all of that comes standard on this EX trim Sorento Hybrid, which is really, really cool. I love Kia's ADAS systems, and it's amazing that they give you so much for such a little price. Now, we do have heated seats here on the center console here. You can also pop this open, this little drawer. Now you have USBs, you have a wireless charger in there. We do have dual zone automatic climate control. I love the air vents. They're very cool looking, and then you get these little ones down here, which is kind of nice. So you can maybe position this one up towards your face, and then these ones are kind of low, and you can kind of position those independently. I've never seen anything quite like that before. It is very interesting, and I do like it quite a bit. Down here we have our drive selector, so we can go drive is to the right, reverse, and then if you want neutral, you just twist it a little bit like that, and then push P for park. That's different than the regular Sorento, which has sort of a physical shifter. Right below it, we have our drive mode selector. Don't get too excited about that. It really doesn't do all that much. Eco is going to be your standard. You get sport and smart mode. Not a huge amount of difference between those. And then below that, we have some more buttons. We have our auto hold button in traffic. We have a parking camera button, but again, don't get too excited about that because all it does is bring up a backup camera. There's no 360 camera. We've got a hill descent control if you're doing any kind of off-roading, and we do have front and rear parking sensors on the Sorento as well. So that was the interior. I think this is a very nice place to sit, although the EX isn't quite as fully loaded as you might like, and it is a little odd that Kia makes you upgrade to a different drivetrain if you want to get a Sorento that's nicer than this and is electrified. All right, now it's time to get the Sorento Hybrid out on the road, where I gotta say I've kind of run into just a little bit of an issue with this car, and I'll explain why. Because I absolutely loved the gas-powered Sorento when I drove it. Now, granted, I only got to drive the Sorento with its big boy engine. The 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder makes like 290 horsepower and over 300 pound-feet of torque. It is a monster. I love that engine, and it was so fun to drive with that engine. I actually said on video that the Sorento was just as fun to drive as a BMW X5. Now, that's a bold claim, and I'm not going to make it here on this hybrid model because this is not nearly the same type of vehicle. Starting first and foremost with the engine. We don't have a big turbocharged 4-cylinder. We do have a turbocharged motor, but it's only a 1.6 liter. It's quite small. We do have a 44 kilowatt electric motor backing it up, so it produces pretty healthy output, 227 horsepower, so a little bit more than what you're going to get from the regular gas-powered Sorento here. So it's not a bad amount of power, and we do have a 6-speed automatic transmission sending that power to the ground, which is interesting because a lot of automakers in the mainstream, Toyota, Honda, Ford, they pair their hybrid drivetrains with like a CVT or direct drive, whatever you want to call it, and that results in very smooth, not necessarily sporty acceleration. But Kia is just a little bit different. So when I come to a stop and I mash the accelerator, which is something most owners are not going to do, but let's do it anyway. Whew. You get actual shifts. You got a ton of wheel slip there. Thanks Eco Tires for that. But you got off the line quite quickly. So I have no faults with this car's power. I think it's peppy enough. It's just that the power delivery is a little bit weird compared to some other hybrids I've driven, and that's because you sometimes have to wait for that downshift, and you don't necessarily feel the shifts, but the fact that there is an actual transmission in there and the power is sort of beholden to the transmission's ratios means that the acceleration just isn't quite as smooth as what you're going to get from some Toyota or Honda hybrids. Now, that being said, the driving characteristics of this car are still pretty good. Those eco tires are not great. You can definitely feel that they are not grippy, but they do wonders for your fuel economy, which I'll talk about in just a minute. I loved the steering on the standard Sorento. I feel like this one has just been tuned a little bit differently. It's just a little more lackadaisical. I don't feel quite as much precision out of it as I did in the regular Sorento. So in a lot of cases, like with the RAV4 hybrid, I think that car is equally, if not more fun than the gas-powered model because you get extra power. In this, I do believe that there is a small trade-off in terms of how fun the vehicle is to drive for the fuel economy. But let's talk about the fuel economy, because I think that's why you would really consider a Sorento hybrid over the gas-powered model, because there's really not much of a price difference between the two. Now, there are two versions of this hybrid drivetrain that you can get. You can get this as a front-wheel drive vehicle, which is what we have here, or you can get it as all-wheel drive. There's a little bit of a difference in fuel economy. They added all-wheel drive as an option for 2022. You couldn't get the Sorento hybrid with all-wheel drive last year. With front-wheel drive, you're going to be getting 39 mpg city, 35 highway, and a whopping 37 mpg combined. Those are really good for a three-row crossover. There's not many vehicles that can do better. The Toyota Highlander Hybrid springs to mind, but that is a little bigger. That is also a little more expensive. I should tell you, I've been averaging a little over 45 miles per gallon so far. So I think it is very easy to beat those numbers from the EPA. This thing is so frugal. Basically, it can shut down the engine. So right now I'm only going like 20, 25 miles an hour, and I'm very light on the throttle. So right now I have that little EV dummy light telling me that I'm not burning any fuel while I'm doing so. And then when I let off, I'm going to charge more electricity into the battery. I can see my battery is getting a little bit low. So if I put my foot on the brake and I charge a little bit more, I can recoup a little bit of that energy. And the hybrid system is good enough to the fact where I've been able to sort of plan my acceleration. So right now I just came to a full stop. I'm pulling away. My battery's a little bit low, but typically I'm able to go light enough on the throttle that I can remain in EV mode for a few seconds before I feel the gas engine kick on, which is fairly smooth. You don't really feel that transition all that much. It is a decently smooth hybrid system, and you could run on EV mode for good portions if you're being careful. So you'll get great fuel economy, much better fuel economy than what you'll get from the regular Sorento or the turbo-powered model. But there is another option, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I haven't driven it yet, but you can get a plug-in hybrid version of this car. Now, I mentioned that if you want all the niceties, you want the SX trim or the SX Prestige trim, you're going to have to step up to that plug-in hybrid model. So that is obviously going to get you a nicer interior with ventilated seats and a panoramic roof and whatever other things you're going to get out of that. But you're also going to get a more powerful electric motor. It's going to go from 44 kilowatts to 66.9 kilowatts, and that's going to up the power. The engine remains the same. So you're going to get 261 horsepower, and you're also going to get a bigger battery, so you'll be able to drive around 32 electric-only miles, which you cannot do on this regular hybrid model. And if you have a short commute, that's going to be great. Your fuel economy is going to take a little bit of a dip, though. You're only going to get 35 in the city, 33 on the highway, 34 combined because it's lugging around that heavier battery. But if you can take advantage of the EV range, that might be worth it. I haven't driven that vehicle yet. I'm hoping to get the Sorento plug-in hybrid later this year so that I can report back to you. It is significantly more expensive, so I'll be looking forward to getting behind the wheel of that version of the Sorento to let you know whether or not I think it's worth the cost. But if you are in the market for a Kia Sorento and those gas prices are absolutely killing you, the Sorento Hybrid is a really good, really frugal option that should be on your radar. So that was the 2022 Kia Sorento Hybrid. Pricing for the base S trim with front-wheel drive starts just over $34,000. All-wheel drive is going to add $1,800 to that price. If you want this EX front-wheel drive trim that I've been driving, it's just under $36,000, which is about $400 more than you'll pay for a turbocharged EX gas-powered model. So basically, it really comes down to whether or not you want the power or you want the fuel economy. And with gas prices the way they are, you might be leaning towards that fuel economy because this is much more frugal than that turbocharged Sorento that I drove last year. Now, if you want to add all-wheel drive to that, which I don't necessarily think I would do, although it is the only way to get those larger 19-inch wheels, that's going to cost you $2,300 more. So you're going to be looking at about $40,000 all in on a Sorento Hybrid. If you want a Sorento Hybrid with more features, you're going to have to step up to that plug-in that I've been talking about, which comes as the SX model. That is a huge upgrade. It's just over $45,000, so about a $10,000 upgrade. Now, a little bit of that is offset by the federal tax credit. You get $6,587 as a tax credit, but you still have to be able to afford that $45,000 vehicle. It doesn't just come right off the car. So that is a significant upgrade. And then there's the SX Prestige above that for $48,000. So that is a much more expensive vehicle. I'll look to try and get one of those in for review later this year to tell you whether or not that huge price delta is really worth the upgrade. But if you are just looking at the standard Sorento Hybrid, there's nothing else quite like this on the market. It is a smaller midsize with a third row that has a really frugal hybrid drivetrain. The only thing I can really compare it to is the Highlander, which is larger, but it itself is kind of small for its segment. And to load one of those up, and you're not even getting a plug-in hybrid system, is going to cost you over $50,000. So the Sorento Hybrid is kind of a bargain. You're going to be getting away with this much cheaper than the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. So honestly, I think that the Sorento Hybrid is kind of a bargain, and if you're looking for a frugal family hauler, it's kind of one of a kind. I really hope you've enjoyed this review. Please leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos, and I'll see you next time.